Welcome to Real Talk. I'm your host, Miss Rachel Kaiser, and joining me today is Miss Amy Tennant. Welcome, Amy. Thank you for coming.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Rachel.
So today our topic is on the first Thanksgiving. As youngsters, we were always taught the warm and friendly story of the Pilgrims and Indians. But Amy is here to tell us the truth about what happened all these years ago. So Amy, I have some common myths here. The first is that Pilgrims invited the Indians to the harvest festival.
That is not true. The Indians were never actually invited, but they weren't kicked out either. The Pilgrims were celebrating their successful harvest with a feast, and the Indians traditionally celebrated around the same time. So they stopped by and began singing, dancing, eating, and playing games with the Pilgrims.
Many people believe the Pilgrims celebrated the first Thanksgiving in America. Is that true?
No, it isn't. The very first feast the Pilgrims celebrated was actually a harvest festival. The Pilgrims celebrated Thanksgiving back in England, where they gave thanks to God. They never celebrated Thanksgiving with the Indians.
It's a common belief that the Pilgrims greatly appreciated the help they received from the Indians.
They did to a certain extent. They were grateful to be taught how to survive in this unfamiliar land, but they weren't grateful enough to call them friends. The biggest indicator is that when more Pilgrims arrived later on, they did not need help from the Indians because they had their fellow Pilgrims to teach them everything. Shortly after they arrived, the Pilgrims and Indians engaged in King Philip's War.
When we think of Indians, we picture them wearing loincloths, and when we think of Pilgrims, we think of their buckled hats. Are those articles of clothing accurate?
No. The weather was way too cold for the Indians to be dressed like that. They would have had more clothing on, perhaps even animal fur. As for the Pilgrims, they wore different colors of dyed clothing. They only wore black and gray on Sundays, and they did not have buckles on any part of their wardrobe.
What kinds of food did they have at the feast? Many of us just assume it was the same method as it is today. Turkey, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie.
Well, Rachel, they definitely did not have pumpkin pie. Most likely they ate some sort of wild bird, corn from their harvest, berries, and probably even some fish.
Amy, thank you so much for being here today and sharing the truth about that event in history. Thank you all for joining me today. I'm Miss Rachel Kaiser, and I'll see you next time on Real Talk.